Welcome back. It's time for the download, our deep dive into what's trending at the Daily Beast. And who better to join us than Ben Sherwood, the Daily Beast CEO and the renowned author, including the book, The Survivors Club, The Secrets and Science That Could Save Your Life. Ben is going to tell us what the hell is happening with air travel right now and what it takes to survive a plane crash. Welcome, Ben.
Hello.
Obviously, we're not talking about something like Lockerbie. I was watching the CNN documentary and it was one of the first stories I ever covered. That story speaks to me. It was such an extraordinary story. But we are talking about the types of air accidents that just happened this week in Toronto.
So many. What is going on?
What the hell's going on, Ben?
We have so many flights coming up. Please make us feel good.
I can make you feel good, and I can also tell you that obviously any loss of life, like the tragedy in Washington, D.C., terrible, painful, and very upsetting. But the fact is that there is just a series of coincidences right now in terms of the most recent accidents. And while people want to blame DEI, or people want to blame FAA, or people want to blame the air traffic system, the simple truth about air travel is that it has never been safer, and that every decade we've seen almost a doubling of air safety. And so the most meaningful statistic that I found in all of my research on aviation safety, when I was working on that book years ago, I went to the FAA's Airplane Crash Survival School in Oklahoma City, where they teach you how to get off a burning jet in 90 seconds. And then I went to the Navy's Aviation Safety and Aviation Training and Survival School in Miramar, the famous Top Gun school in Miramar, California, where they dunk you in a swimming pool in a simulated helicopter and teach you how to get out of a helicopter alive.
And did they make you wear a very sexy sort of leather jacket while you're doing it? How Top Gun is it? Is it really Top Gun?
It was very Top Gun. There was no sexy leather jacket. We wore these big, giant aviation suits to simulate being in a helicopter. But back to the statistic that's interesting. There are lots and lots of statistics about aviation safety. There is safety per billion miles. There's fatalities per 100,000 hours in the air. There are all these different statistics. But there is one statistic that is the most meaningful. It was developed by a statistician at MIT, a guy named Arnold Barnett, a professor at the Sloan School. And it's the most relevant statistic. What is your chance of dying on your next airplane flight? And that statistic today in 2025 is 1 in 25 million. So on your next flight in the United States, the chances of perishing are 1 in 25 million, which means that you could fly statistically every day for the next 60,000 years before you would end up in a fatal crash. That's the same odds as flipping a coin 24 to 25 times in a row and getting heads. It's very safe. Comparing that to the previous decade and the previous decade and the previous decade, it just it keeps getting safer to fly, despite the sense that, there's a plane that flipped upside down in Toronto and there's a plane that went into the Potomac after crashing into a helicopter. These are terrible. But overall, for all of us, the 9.68 billion passengers worldwide, flying is getting safer.
But Ben, if you are, God forbid, one of those people in a plane that flips and you suddenly see flames pouring out of the back of it, what should you do to ensure your chances of survival? I would be hopeless, because as a British person, I'd obviously have to be very polite and let everybody else go first. And Sam would just say, I'll just sit here until the plane's emptied.
I don't feel safe until we're come to a complete stop. I actually disagree. I think that Joanna and I are survivors. Don't you? What do you?
What are the key things to do
in the 90 seconds that you have to get off a plane that may be on fire? What are the key elements?
So there are a few things to know. First thing is that every second counts.
Yeah.
You have to get off and be able to get off the plane in 90 seconds. And so how do you do that? There are a number of things to remember. The first thing is to remember the rule of +3 - 8. The first 3 minutes of a flight and the last 8 minutes of the flight are when almost all of the incidents happen. And 95% of the incidents are survivable. So 95% of the time, if you do the right things, you can get off and get out safely. The first thing to remember, besides fastening your seatbelt and all the basics that are obvious and that they tell you over and over, the most important thing to do is to pick your seat wisely. Now, some people think that it's the front of the plane that's the safest. Other people think it's the back of the plane that's the safest. Other people think it's the wing. Professor Ed Galea of the University of Greenwich in England, who is an expert on fire safety and evacuations, has studied the seating charts of airplane crashes. And he says that the safest seat is not in the front and the back. The safest seat is within 5 rows of any emergency exit.
Okay, that's useful to know.
If you can pick your seat, pick a seat within 5 rows of an emergency exit, front, back, because the chance of being able to get to the exit under duress and fast, your chances within 5 rows are greater than outside of 5 rows. And they've actually just looked at who has been able to get off of planes and who hasn't been able to get off within that 90-second period that's so critical. Why 90 seconds? Because in that period of time, something called a flashover effect can happen. That's where the plane and the fuel and everything turn the cabin of this aluminum cylinder into a very, very hot 2,000-degree burning inferno. And so you've got to get off really fast.
Wow.
Is that what you do? Because, Ben, you come back and forth all the time from LA, where you're based, to the Daily Beast headquarters in New York. And you often send a picture of yourself sitting in your seat. Do you book your ticket 5 rows from an exit?
Always. And I book my seat within 5 rows. And I also, for many years, carried a smoke hood in my carry-on bag.
Really?
And a smoke hood is a little hood that's folded up in a little pack. It's the size a little bit bigger than a cigarette box. And a smoke hood is something that, again, in an emergency, if there were smoke, it might give you another few seconds to be able to navigate the smoke. It's a thing that you put over your head. It's got this breathing thing. It's not the equivalent of like a little mask. It's actually a thing that goes all the way over your head. And so my rules are, and there are a couple other rules that are relevant for you, Jojo, and they're relevant for you, Samantha. When you get on the plane, do not immediately pop a sleeping pill. Do not immediately have a cocktail. Do not immediately put on your headset and dive into that great book that you're reading. The first 3 minutes and the last 8 minutes of the flight, you want to be alert and paying attention and be ready, not with a mask on, not already medicated and out and sleeping on your flight because you want to catch that sleep across the country. You want to be alert and ready so that in the event that you have to move quickly, you can move quickly. And again, when they've studied passenger manifests and when they've studied seating charts, and when they've actually looked at the wreckage of airplanes, they find that people blindfolded, people who have been medicated, those people sometimes don't even get off the plane and don't do anything.
Well, I assure both of you that I'm the only person who listens to the flight attendant when they give the little speech. I watch, I pay attention, I put a smile on my face, and I say, thank you for this performance of these safety measures. And yes, I will read the card.
Well, I've said I would never, ever take a sleeping tablet on a plane because my
no.
sister worked for an airline at one point. And Ben, one of the things she said, and I'm interested to see if you corroborate this, is that you should also fly wearing natural fibers because if you're wearing something that melts on your skin, it can be A, incredibly painful, and B, again, if you've got 3 seconds, if it comes down to 3 seconds, you will last longer if you're wearing cotton and wool than you will if you're wearing acrylic.
Oh, boy.
So in my years of research, I never encountered that piece of advice, but I encountered a related piece of advice, which is to wear shoes with laces, not to wear sandals or flip-flops or shoes that can fly off, because if you have to run, you may have to run across glass, you may have to run across a heated wing, you may have to run across burning jet fuel, and you don't want to be barefoot. And so one of the things that has been a rule in our family since we started flying as a family is that everybody wants to wear flip-flops on the plane or everybody wants to wear and everybody has to wear shoes with laces.
But
What
how
about
can I
stilettos?
But how can I take my flip-flops off and paint my toenails on the headrest of the person in front of me?
Thank
I'm wearing
God I've never
shoes.
sat next to you on a plane. I would pass out if someone did that.
Oh, God.
What about stilettos? Running in heels, we could do that. We could totally do that.
Always laced shoes are vital. Even
so-
I know that.
So sit within 5 rows of an exit, have a smoke hood in your pocket.
Love that.
Wear shoes that are not going to fly off. Can you wear fairly tight-fitting slip-ons? I've got some new sneakers.
So remember, President Trump was knocked out of his shoes in Butler, Pennsylvania, which are slip-on shoes, because those are not tied tightly around his feet. So I would recommend shoes with laces. There's one other thing that's just a really good nugget about airplane safety. 80% of the injuries on airplanes happen because people aren't wearing their seatbelts. And so your chances of actually getting hurt on a plane, as I said, 1 in 25 million. Your chances of getting hurt on the plane from just everyday turbulence are actually significantly higher. And so if you really want to be safe when you're flying, don't worry really about what's going to happen in terms of takeoff or landing. That's going to be okay statistically. But do pay attention to the fact that there is a lot of turbulence and people get banged up. And so keep your seatbelt on. That's actually the simple and most important tip. And the other tip is to relax. There's a bunch of data about airplane safety that people under stress, people who are anxious in the air, that there are many more health complications from the anxiety and the stress that people have about flying than the actual flying itself. And so find some way to relax with a good movie or Netflix, or read The Daily Beast.
My mother-in-law was on a flight and someone had a heart attack right beside her and died on the flight beside her.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a cousin that died on a plane.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Well. I feel so much safer. This makes total sense, especially the bit about you may have to run across burning tarmac or broken glass and keep shoes on that won't fly off. And your point about Donald Trump is a really good one, that he refused to get off the podium until he got his shoes back.
This is very specific and helpful information, and I will never forget it.
Smokehoods.com.
I wrote this Survivors Club book in 2010. It's 300 pages long. It's got everything about surviving every imaginable situation. And the one fact that endures across 15 years, and whenever I bump into someone who's read the book or someone who heard about the book, the one fact that endures and that people remember is get on the plane, sit within 5 rows, and if you're anywhere on the plane, count the rows to the nearest exits, both the one in front of you and the one behind you. Because in the disorientation of smoke or spinning or a sudden stop, deceleration as they call it, you may actually not know entirely where you are. It may be dark, the lights may go out. So if you've counted the rows to the nearest exit, you can feel your way to 5 rows forward, 6 rows back. And that sort of situational awareness is actually the most important thing of all in any of these situations, is to know where you are and to know what you need to do. And so, Sam, you're right to listen to the briefing. You're right to listen and look at the card. Aviation safety experts say that frequent flyers are actually often the least safe because they aren't paying any attention. And in fact, all planes are different. Exits are different. The way the emergency exit is different. The number of rows, all of that. And so being vigilant actually makes a difference in these situations.
Keep that seatbelt on.
What
Keep that
about
seatbelt on?
pushing people out of the way? Just get out of my way.
You know what? I'm going to climb over you because you're going to be all tangled up in all your suede jackets.
I am. Oh,
You joke about this, guys, but they call these people, there's a certain kind of person on an airplane called a cork. And that cork is a person who's going to get stuck in the emergency exit. God. And so at the airplane safety school in Oklahoma City, they actually say to you, when you get on a plane, if you're not in the emergency exit, look at the emergency exit row. And if you see someone that you think may get stuck getting out of the emergency exit, or may not be a so-called able-bodied person, a person who can handle it in an emergency, to bring it to the attention of the flight attendant and say, I'm worried. And they will move that passenger out of the emergency exit if they make the same judgment about them. Because when they've studied who gets off airplanes in emergencies, there are sometimes people who actually get stuck in the exit,
Right.
or don't behave properly in those moments and can slow down everybody and can actually be the difference between life and death. So you joke about trying to get out and who's going to be in front of you, but it actually matters.
You know what? That's so interesting because I was in an exit row recently and they came and they gave me the quiz and they were like, do you feel able to fulfill the duties of the exit row person? And then they said the door is 35 pounds. And I went, yes, I think I can do that, but there's no world.
Of course you could do 35
35 pounds in a
especially-
panic?
Definitely in a panic. You get all that rush of adrenaline.
I'm not going to be a cork. I'm not going to be a damn cork.
I'm just upset I'm going to have to wear lace-up shoes like sneakers onto the plane.
Yes, you have to.
Oh, it's not a fashion statement, Ben. It's not a fashion statement.
I am
Survive or look
breathless.
good. Survive or look good.
I'm
Which do you
breathless.
prefer? What would that cheetah do? Actually, you could run very fast with that cheetah print.
Very fast.
Very fast. Ben, final quiz for you. What animal do you think Sam's sweater is?
Leopard.
Oh, thank you.
Interesting.
Thank you.
So
you.
Sam said it was cheetah. Jim Acosta said it was leopard. You said it was leopard. I say it's giraffe.
Giraffe. I only wear giraffe skins on an airplane, and that will save my life one day.
It's all good. Ben Sherwood, one of the reasons I love working with you is you are a fount of all sorts of incredibly useful, and now it turns out, life-saving information.
Life-saving. I'm never going to forget this, and then I'm going to go and buy smoke hoods for myself and all of my loved ones.
Smokehoods.com. I'm flying on Sunday to LA. I am going to approach it in a whole new way. I've gotten total blasé about it. Totally blasé. This is excellent advice, Ben.
And next time, guys, we can talk about which day is the right day to go to the hospital.
Okay, you're totally coming back for that. And of course, because you are really within the company known as Menendez, you can come back and tell us about the Menendez brothers resentencing.
Coming up in March.
We'll
Thank you
see
so
you back
much.
here shortly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Capacious bags and a lace-up sneaker.
Yep. I think you'd look good in a smoke hood.
I think so
I think
too.
maybe I should just get a hoodie and turn the hood into a smoke hood.
Just
That
wear
would
it.
excite my YouTube
Wear
critics.
it. Wear it while you're sleeping on the plane, and then gently suffocate as you sleep. Now that I know it's giving giraffe, I have to sell it.
You don't have to. I like it.
I love survival tips. What is the worst day of the week to go to the hospital?
Well, we're going to find out.